If you are listening to me live, I really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm live on Instagram right now. If you do want to connect with me, you can do it there. The handle is at Kids Can See Ghosts and you. And I am also live on Facebook. But you know what? I'm not sure if the audience is set to public or not on Facebook. And I actually think it is. Hold on. I just changed it to public. So now you guys, excuse me, can actually watch me live on Facebook. I just taught myself in that few seconds how to change my status on my dashboard on Facebook. So, welcome to Happy Hour with Dr. Lisa. I am your host, of course. I am Dr. Lisa. So, before I share with you all how to get in contact with me, first of all, I think I can speak for all of us when I say that our thoughts and love and our prayers, if you pray, are with the families and the victims up at Michigan State. You know, I think about gun violence just like the rest of you, what we can do about it, you know, how we can come together as a community to try to lessen, you know, acts of gun violence. And, you know, it's a hard thing as far as determining who will actually commit these kind of crimes, but I will share with you my stance on gun violence, and that is to remove automatic weapons. I said it, I stand by that stance, and I'm not going to change it. No one needs to have any semi-automatic weapons except the military, in my opinion. And so I wish there was more that we can do, but of course it starts in politics, and that's a whole nother topic that I don't want to get into. And so hopefully there will be some changes made and we can reduce finally these incidences of violence within our community, these mass shootings. It's definitely sad when it happens. Also, I want to answer a question and then we'll get into the blog. The way to reach me, because some of you have asked, and I will tell you again, you can always send me a text message or give me a call if you have a question that you want answered. The number is 765-205-1959. And then you can send me a message on kidscansee@gmail.com. I do answer questions, and I am starting to answer them live, which is exciting for me. For example, a parent asked, is it okay to have a parent advocate in with me in my special education meetings? That is a good question, and it's one that people don't ask, and it is one that some parents do not know the answer to, like this lovely and daring parent. So I am going to share with you the answer is yes. Every day, all day, you can have a parent advocate help to represent you to make sure that the things that you want to see happen are happening within legal timelines and within your expectancy and written up properly in your IEP. So absolutely, an IEP is an individualized education plan for those of you who do not know. You may always bring a parent advocate, but what I would like for you to do is to make sure you clear it with your school. You know, there's no reason to surprise your special education team because they are there for you and they are there to help your child. And the best thing that you can do is to let them know. And besides that, it may be a policy with your school district that they need to know in advance if you are going to bring a parent advocate. So do me a favor, let your school know that you're going to do it. They're okay with parent advocates. You have a right to it. You can do it. I've been a parent advocate. It's been fine. Love special education teams, etc., etc. Yes, please take a parent advocate for you. That is actually something that I cover. I special education logbook. I do have different things in here, different tips. I said this last week. If you have questions or the special education process is far too difficult or it is overwhelming for you, look, I've done the work for you. It is on Amazon. You can access it through my website, LisaLigginsChambers.com. It's actually my favorite manual that I created of all of them, and I'm getting ready to put out 2 more, so watch for those. All right, let's talk about why you guys are arguing. This is a common thing that happens when 2 parents do not come together in their ideas, thoughts, and instructions to one another about how they will discipline their kids. And in the defense of parents, because I'm going to defend you, because I'm a parent too. When you do have a baby with someone, one of the things that you may not talk about is how to discipline your kids, right? Right? We get these little lovely babies that we adore and love so much, and then when they become toddlers and it's really starting to get to the point where you have to start to administer some sort of structure and discipline to your kids, that's when you start to discover, well, wait a minute. Wait, no, I don't want to do that. We're not equally yoked when it comes down to disciplining our kids. And ironically, last night I was watching The Good Doctor. Some of you watch The Good Doctor. It is one of my favorite shows, right? And there were 2 parents on the show who were at odds about what? Discipline. And because they were at odds about discipline and different tactics that they wanted to use to raise their kid, including whether the kid should go to camp or not, you know, one parent was more protective and guarded than the other parent. And so what happened was they started to argue, and then it got to a point where the wife said, you know, I'm just done. I can't do this anymore, right? And I know that some of you are to that point as well. And so there is no specific instruction manual out there to tell you how to be married, as far as I know, right? Maybe I should write one about how to be married and merge your ideologies about discipline, right? And so what I would like for you to do is to ask yourself a couple of questions, both of you. And one of the first things that I think you should ask yourselves is, am I listening to you, or to her, or to him, or to them? Am I being a good listener? If you say no, you have to figure out why you're not a good listener. Now, it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that you cannot listen effectively. You might be blocking yourself from actually listening to the point where your significant other feels heard. But you have to do that, okay? You have to teach yourself how to do it. Now, one of the things you have to stop doing is cutting people off and being prepared with an answer before you actually hear what they have to say. If you are prepared with an answer, you're not listening. You're not listening because you are focused on what you want to say as opposed to being receptive about what the other person is saying. So if that person keeps telling you you're not listening, you're cutting me off in conversation, you're talking over me, you are not being thoughtful in how you say things or how you receive them, then you are not listening, okay? And that's a huge problem because if you are not allowing the other person to feel heard, then what do you think is going to happen? They're going to to start balling up their emotions, and it is going to get to the point where they stop trying to talk to you. And if that is not something that you want to do, then change the way that you are listening. Okay? And actually it's not easy to do. It's not easy to do. To be a good listener. It's just not. So you have to train yourself to become an active listener if you have issues within that area. And one thing to do is to just stop. Take a moment before you respond. Count to 10 before you respond. Repeat what that person said to you. When you repeat it, that's what makes them feel heard. Just them asking you, well, what did I say? You should be able to repeat it. Not, it doesn't matter what you say. This is how I feel, or this is what I want to see happen, or this is how I want to say it. Okay? So the other thing that you can ask as a parent is, are we sharing authority? And if you can see me, I'm smiling. Because if you are dominating a situation, and you are domineering with regard to what you think needs to happen with your child or your children, you are not sharing authority. It is not your way or the highway. It is not. That is not fair, and you don't want to do that because the both of you have responsibility for taking care of the child. So it's okay to relinquish some of your authority to your spouse to come together to figure out what is best for your child. Okay? So what I typically see is some moms who stay at home, who feel as if their way is the right way because they spend the most time with the kids because they're home with them. And so what they're doing is they're leaving their husbands out of that dynamic, right? And so then husbands are getting frustrated. Ladies, they have their own way of doing things, and you have to allow them to do it. You wouldn't have those babies without them. It took two. So you need to allow your spouses to share authority over those children. So what if he wants to do it a different way? So what if he wants to take the toys up when you want him to hold the baby? So what if he changes the diaper differently? Who cares? So what if he feels like the kid needs a timeout and you don't? Okay? That's fine. So it goes into the next one. Our next question. Are you compromising? Are you compromising? Are you willing to shut it down like I'm doing in the video? Are you willing to not have things your way all the time? Are you a control freak? If you are, that is not fair when it comes to your kids, and you have to settle this within yourself, okay? Crisis hits all the time being parents. You have to share the disciplinary tactics that you want to use with the other person, even if they don't agree with you. Or if you don't agree, you got to figure out how to come together so that you guys are compromising. Oh, it's okay to just put it down sometimes and relinquish your control. And that crosses other marital issues as well. I'm no marriage and family therapist, so I can't really advise you. I'm not a specialist in that area. But relinquishing control does cross over into other parts of the relationship. But when it comes to your kids, you have to be able to talk things through. Listen, as a mom who has raised a teenager, I'll tell you, if you got little kids, wait until they become teenagers. You two have got to get on the same page and learn to compromise with one another and be okay with it before your kids get older, because what you have now grows up and becomes worse if you don't do something about it. And the other thing is that, they watch your behaviors. They watch how you argue. They watch how you interact. You are teaching them how to argue, how to be mad, and how you cope with those emotions in a relationship. And that is exactly what they will learn to do when they are your age and they are in relationships. And keep that in mind. Little children are like sponges, okay? So if you are a dad, for example, who feels like you never have to compromise, it's your way or the highway, guess what your daughter or your son's gonna do? The same thing you do. Yeah. And if that's how you want to raise your children, you can, but I'm going to tell you something, they're going to be alone because a lot of people won't tolerate that nonsense, okay? Because that's exactly what it is. You have to compromise. You have to come to an agreement. Another thing that I've seen is parents reading their kids the wrong way, okay? Are you reading them the same way? We all have our individual interpretations of life in general, but also of our kids. The way to get through this is to communicate. Sometimes my husband and I may not see eye to eye when it comes to our kids. We may not see eye to eye in other areas of our marriage or our lives together. But the one thing that we've learned over these years is that for some issues, we do have to read them the same way, from finances to sports for kids to, other areas. And when it comes to your kids, sometimes we interpret things the wrong way, and it gets in the way of our parenting, and it gets in the way of how we come together as parents. So, the way to settle this in an argument is calm down, separate. Sometimes you can write these things out, and if you don't have time to come back together and read them together, then you two have to go to your corners and take some time apart to settle this, and then come back together and make a decision. And I think it's okay to say, why you want this to happen and why you don't. But you do have to find a way to make a choice. And that's what kids thrive on anyway. They thrive on structure. They thrive on discipline. They thrive on support and especially love. So when you read your kids, you do have to read them the same way. And listen, if you do not read them the same way, do not let your kids know. Some of you are, and this is not in the blog at all, but some of you are including your kids in your arguments. Don't do that. You guys figure it out, and then you work with your kids, all right? Leave your private lives separate outside of your children. They are not adults. And even when they're adults, it's none of their business. Okay, another reason that you guys are arguing is over trauma. Okay, when you look at your significant other, hopefully you know quite a bit about their past. Okay, and if you don't, now it's time to ask, because there are instances where we as adults transfer our past onto our spouses, right? Or we've had some type of trauma that we pass on to our kids, right? And so and this is what was happening in The Good Doctor for the most part. We can take on our past to the point where we transfer it onto our kids. So if we've had a lot of trauma, we can be so protective of our kids that we give them anxiety because we teach them that the world is not safe safe. One parent may not see it that way. Bring that to the other parent's attention, and then you start arguing. That's not how you want to raise your kids. It's just not, because you are showing them that the world is not safe. Yeah, we got some problems. We just talked about what happened in Michigan, but overall, you don't want to put that kind of anxiety into your kids. You know, it's all right to let them learn some things on their own, but transferring your past onto your kids is probably not the healthiest thing to do. The other part of trauma is the next question. I've noticed that individuals that have been abused sometimes, and this is some people, won't discipline their kids because of what happened to them. And this causes arguments in the relationship. Sometimes in my blogs, I say a little silly stuff because I want you guys to, just kind of be humored in some of the stuff that I say. But this is actually kind of serious because I went somewhere a couple of months ago, and I noticed that the majority of the people that had some type of trauma, so physical trauma within their lives, like physical abuse and things like that, severe things when they were kids, they were against discipline, right? And so some of them are going to bring kids in the world with spouses that did not have that kind of trauma. And then they're going to have a conflict because one spouse may actually want to discipline the kid, and these individuals were against discipline. And so one parent talked about how she and her spouse argue quite a bit because she actually does not want to use any disciplinary strategies. And the spouse is like, yeah, no, we're disciplining our kids. And so you can't just, in your relationship, if this is your challenge, so you just can't not give your kids any structure or love through discipline because of what happened to you, okay? You have to obviously refrain from giving that kind of abuse towards your kid. It's unacceptable and reportable, and you don't want to abuse your kids. That's actually wrong. We don't do that. However, you do want to remain consistent in your discipline, and that's how you two can come together if you don't agree with the type of discipline that your spouse wants to do. What you can do is to come together to talk about other strategies you can use to improve the negative behaviors of your kids, but make it clear to your spouse that it is because you simply don't want what? To have the same things happen to your kids that happen to you, and that's completely acceptable. All right. Can you guys back away from your spouse as your spouse disciplines your child? I'm a pro at that. I'll admit it. I'm a pro at that. I can absolutely leave the room and allow my husband to take over the discipline for our kids. Can you all do that? Or do you have an issue with that to the point where you have to stay and watch what happens? That can cause some challenges because the other spouse may feel as if you don't trust them with the kids to follow through with discipline. And I've actually seen that and heard about that, from a couple of parents just recently meaning within the last year, about how there's a feeling that the significant other does not trust them with the kids. You have to stop interfering so much, especially the ladies. It's okay to let your spouses discipline those kids. They can do it as long as what I said. They're not abusing those kids. They can absolutely discipline them. Stop interfering. Family history. Do you understand your spouse's family history? If you don't, it's time to learn, because what you may learn is that some of the arguing that you are doing pertaining to discipline stems from childhood. So here's what you have. You have one or two choices. You you can stay around and deal with that and realize this person's not going to change because this is from their childhood. They don't want to change. They're not going to do this way, and accept that, and it's personally fine, perfectly fine. But if you don't want to accept that, then you have an issue that you guys may have to go to counseling about because that person may not change. So, when it comes down to family history, you do have to know that information and work with it so that you can discipline your kids together. All right. Are you two able to discuss disciplinary strategies in a calm manner? I know you get heated up. I know you get mad. Ooh, I know you get mad. I have some friends that get mad, really mad over discipline. And I'm laughing because my friends, if they're listening, they know who they are. And it's funny to me sometimes. And it's funny because a lot of the situations that they go through like this, been there, done that. So I can look back and laugh. Guys, it will get better. I promise, if you work together. But you have to do it in a calm manner. How do you expect your kids to behave if you don't with one another? And so what you can do is create a list independent of each other for how you'd like to discipline your kids. You can do that, but you have to do it separately and then come together and see what you agree on and see what you don't, and then try to compromise with one another. Hey, some people just don't want to discipline. That's okay. It may not be a good thing for the kid because, like I always tell you guys, you have to give some structure and discipline to kids. I've seen tragedies where these kids do not have any discipline. And remember, discipline is love. We need to love our kids to teach them how to be productive citizens in life. And one way to do that is to tell them no. Yep, some parents don't tell their kids no, but that's a whole nother issue. Okay? And then when you disagree about strategies, try to replace them with ones that you all can agree upon so that you can work together with changing the behavior of your kids. Kids do change their behaviors, guys. It's up to you to help them. And if you come together peacefully, you will accomplish this matter, and pretty quickly. Okay? I saved this one for last because I think it's the most damaging for a couple of reasons. So let's talk about it for a few minutes. Do you guys back each other up in discipline? Let me give you a personal example. My ex-husband's gonna kill me. And he is on my Facebook page, but he can kill me later. Listen, my ex-husband and I, all of those years that we were raising our oldest daughter, she never knew when we disagreed with discipline or when we disagreed with anything pertaining to her. Not one time to this day. You all didn't hear that, did you? Not one time to this day, and it's 23 years this year. And if we had issues, we went to one another and figured it out and talked to each other. 23 years this year. We still talk to each other, not as much, but we will still talk to each other to try to make sure that things are taken care of. For example, her graduation from college and things like that. Guys, you have to back each other up. You do. Because in front of your kids, you want to be a united front. So I tell you a funny story. I remember one time my daughter was so upset with me. She was like, she's gonna kill me too. But it's so funny. It's so appropriate. She was a teenager and she said, I'll just call my daddy. I'll just call my daddy. And I'll just live my daddy. And blah, 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 blah. So, my husband, my current husband, and I, we said, okay, let's call your dad. And mind you, the three of us have been on the same page as far as taking care of her together. So you see, you can do it even if you're remarried. And so we were all sitting at the table and we were like, okay, call your daddy. And we gave her the cell phone, and I knew it was gonna happen because I know her dad very well. And so she's like, Daddy, just kind of like she's telling on us. And he said, well, he said, did you pop her in the head? I mean, of course, we're not popping our baby in the head, but that was his response. And I hollered. He said, if I was your mother, I would do it too. Because who do you think you are? And I just looked at her and said, you still going to your daddy's house? Life is unfair. You guys don't love me. Blah, blah, blah. That's the same baby that's in law school. So you tell me if we loved her or not. Listen, that's my point, guys. It seems hard, so hard in the midst of it. It almost seems impossible sometimes when they become teenagers. Do not make your kids think that you are not a united front. When they start coming to you over your spouse, after your spouse said no, you go back to your kids and say, what did mommy say? What did daddy say? If mommy said no, do not come to me and ask me. Even if I don't agree with mommy, the answer is no. And then you go, I'm going to tell you behind how I really feel later. But I'm not going to do it in front of our kids. When your kids are starting to interfere in your marriage, and they do it pretty quickly, right? It's so easy for our kids to come in between our marriages because we have to spend so much of our time raising kids, right? And so it's really easy for those little stinkers to interfere, right? When they become teenagers, I want you to multiply that by 100. You have to be on the same page. You must agree with one another in front of your kids. Later on, talk to each other about what you did not happen, because what you don't want to do is to make your kids think that they've won. That is really important. All right, let's see what we are talking about next week. We are going to go right into special education. My child needs special education, but I refuse to get him help. Am I doing the right thing? Most of you already know what I'm going to say about that. However, we as a community are going to address that question together because it's a really important question because of the stigma of special education. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard, including today, I am not going to get this kid help, even though they need an IEP. Your guess is as good as mine as to why some parents are against getting their kids some help. Alrighty, so thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys joining me today. Check out my blog. I am writing all of your questions out. Keep writing them. Some of them I do address live in my videos. Also, go to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe at Dr. Lisa 3. All of my videos are uploaded to YouTube from Podbean Live, and also I upload the live put on Facebook, and I'm also live on Instagram. So, my views on YouTube have gone up significantly. Thank you so much. There's so much I will be able to do if I get subscribers on YouTube. My views have gone up tremendously with this podcast. All of you, thank you very much. It's gone up on Facebook 100%. So this is great. I am getting more of the messages out, answering more questions about mental health, and I'm enjoying every freaking minute of it. Also, I got another perfume video coming out. With some surprises. I like doing that. It's fun. It has nothing to do with psychology, so it's a good break for me. Alrighty, so you all have